Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Third and Goal Show with Garrett Douglas.
And Nick Johnson.
And this is where we take you through the week's top games, and we should tell you our picks.
All right. We're going to get it started early with a good one.
A good one. SEC and an ACC matchup.
That's right. This is going to be a big game played on neutral territory
Dallas
in
Cowboys.
the Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Dallas, Texas. This game's actually going to be played on Sunday rather than Saturday, so this will be a good chance for you to
Getting that
get some
NFL
action
spot
on
while they
Sunday
can.
night. Yeah, get that NFL spot while they can.
I think I'll start it off.
Okay.
I think one of the big things going into this game is the two coaches. And I'll start with Mark Richt. I think he needs to start getting it going again this year. I know last year they started out strong. They had the turnover chain.
Right.
They had some good stuff going until later in the year they couldn't
Mm-hmm.
finish games.
Yeah.
So Mark Richt definitely one big thing to be looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Mark Richt needs to prove that he can control a season because he also had this problem at Georgia.
Yeah.
He would win some big games, but he'd still just 10 win season every year. If he wants to cement himself as one of the big coaches in this league, he's going to need to put together some big wins and have a big season. So I think a perfect way to start it off would be a big win over a big opponent like LSU.
I think the same thing goes for Ed Ogeron too.
Mhm.
He kind of got pushed into the spot being the interim head coach after Les
Right.
Miles. Those are big boots to fill after Les Miles
Definitely.
anyways. And last year wasn't that good for him at the beginning. As you all know, Troy beat them at home.
Coach
But
Roy.
after that, they rang off a few wins. I think like 6 or 7. They beat Auburn during the year. If Ed Ogeron can transfer that to this year, they'd have something going. And I
Right.
think they could be back up near the SEC West.
Yeah, I think if Ed Orgeron does not get a good start to this season, if he comes out and they look really sloppy versus Miami, and because they don't have a lot of space to work with, Miami's a big game at the beginning of the year, and then it's going to instantly pick up. They've got teams like Auburn on the road, and they've got Alabama and Georgia at home. They've got a tough season this year, and they're going to need wins where they can get them. So, good way to start would be this Miami game.
Also, finding their quarterback for now and the future, even. LSU hasn't had a great quarterback since Jamarcus Russell. So, it's been a while. So, they need
Right.
to find something
Right.
to get it going.
And as always, that's one of the big questions coming into this season is not only quarterback, but LSU's offense overall.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of youth on their offense this year. They're going to have to see if they can get it going and get it going early against a tough Miami defense. Miami is returning a lot of starters on that defense,
Yeah.
and they're going to be looking to get those turnovers going again. Actually, a couple statistics. Miami led the country in turnovers last year. They were
Okay.
number one in turnovers, and also they were one of the only 22 teams in the country to hold their opponents to less than 20 points per game. So they averaged allowing less than 20 points per game.
If
So
they can have half of that against LSU, who historically doesn't have great offenses, I think that's a winning recipe for
Right.
Miami.
Right.
And that's why I'm picking them.
And I think these two teams have, I wouldn't say equal, but close to the same level on defense.
Yeah.
But with LSU having so many questions on offense and Miami at least having some solid players, they've got a returning quarterback.
And I think Miami has a better coach overall.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think those advantages are just going to put Miami over in this game. That's why I've got Miami winning 17-14 in this one.
24-18 Miami Hurricanes.
All right.
The U.
That's game one. Moving on to game two.
Oh, a good one.
A big game here.
Well, this is supposed to be one of the marquee matchups of this weekend, but I don't think it's going to go that way. I mean, you have a big storyline, and who's going to start a quarterback, Tua or
Right.
Jalen? I know we've all been hearing it. It's going to be interesting to see who gets to start, but irrelevant to that, I think Alabama's going to roll through
Yeah.
Louisville Saturday.
I agree with you on that for the most part. The only problems with Alabama coming into this weekend is that they did lose a lot of talent to the draft.
Yeah.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is usually their strong suit. So Alabama's going to have to get those new guys on the field. They're going to have to figure out what they're doing fast, and they're going to be ready to play against a Louisville head coach and
Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino. That's right. Yeah, one of the best play callers in the league, in my opinion. On
One of
the
the best
offensive side of the
offensive
ball.
minds
Right.
in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah, so, and I expect him to take advantage of that young defense early. I expect him to put up all of their scoring is going to be early in the game as these
Early.
players are trying to get settled in. they're gonna have some offensive success early, but I expect that to shut down later in the game as the physicality of Alabama wears in, and they really start to dig their heels into the ground and push back, and they're going to take off after that.
Also, another advantage for Louisville is they're coming in obviously underdogs.
Right.
So that's a good mindset to have when playing Alabama.
Especially
Also,
in game one.
I don't know. I would say that Alabama's a very emotional team sometimes in games. So if you can get under their skin a little bit, I think you can have a little bit of advantage.
And that's one thing going into the quarterback battle. Alabama does usually have some emotional players in their teams. But one thing about Jalen Hurts, an X factor for him, is his ability to keep a cool head.
Yeah, that is.
Even watching him play in the Georgia game when he was down, he was on the sideline. He just had the same cool look on his face, same cool demeanor. He didn't get too excited, and that's a big X factor for Alabama to think about as they're trying to choose their quarterback this year.
I personally think Jalen's going to run out for the first snap. I don't see how, as a coach, you would put a quarterback that has a 93% win percentage on the bench.
Right.
But if anyone's going to do it, it's Nick Saban.
Right. And at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters who's playing quarterback. I think the third string or fourth string guy could come out, and I think Alabama's still going to win this game in big fashion. I've got Alabama winning it by at least 24.
I'll go. They're going to win by at least 30. It's not going to be. It's going to be good for maybe the first 10 minutes, maybe the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, Alabama's talent, physicality, they're just going to take over. So I'm taking Alabama.
All right. Those are our picks for game 2. Game number 3 for our
Game number 3,
this
a
is
good one. This is my favorite matchup of the week to look at because the coaches, or Jim Harbaugh, has a lot riding on this game. After coming off last year, having a pretty bad season, they finished 3rd in the Big Ten. I think this is important for him to get this win and on the road in South Bend and keep him off the hot seat.
Right. And that goes for good for Michigan. But this game also holds a lot of value for Notre Dame. And mostly, I think, being a non-conference team, not having that conference championship, I think picking up big wins this season, if they want to make a playoff argument, they need this win over Michigan because this is going to be one of that big, and they do schedule difficult opponents, but not having that conference championship means you need even more, in my opinion, to get your name put down as one of the top 4 teams of the country at the end of the season.
Even if Jim Harbaugh and Michigan loses this game, they have a lot of good opponents on the schedule from the Big Ten that they can beat later on. But I think for the sake of the fan base and the players, he needs to win this first game and get all momentum on his side and everyone to buy in.
Yes, exactly. People are starting to get some questions about Jim Harbaugh right now. People are starting to, at first everybody was excited. Now everybody's like, I don't think Harbaugh can win the big games.
After 3 years not making it to the playoffs in a year, there's reason for it. But I still think he's one of the best coaches in the game.
Right.
And I think he's going to show it in this game.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Analytics-wise, I think this is going to be a very defensive game, similar to the LSU-Miami game. These are both teams with very great defenses statistically. Just looking at some of the numbers here, Michigan is returning 10 starters on a defense that was 13th in scoring allowed last year. So
they're only going to get better. So that's good.
They're only getting better with 10 starters. I expect Michigan's defense to be elite this year.
And if I remember correctly, Notre Dame is losing 4 of their starting linemen.
Correct.
Who are all seniors.
Exactly.
So
and they're missing 2 top 15 draft picks on the left side.
That's tough.
There's going to be 2 new guys on the left side trying to defend their quarterback this year. And with Michigan's 10 returning starters, I think they're going to be bringing the heat, and I think they're going to put him under pressure all night long. I think Michigan.
Also to mention, Shea Patterson is Michigan's quarterback transfer, stud quarterback. If he can, I think he'll be the X factor. If he can get it going, they're in for a good night. So I'm taking Michigan, and I'll take a low-scoring game, probably 21-18, Michigan.
All right, and my prediction for this game was actually Michigan winning 17-13.
All right, up next we got Auburn and Washington, one of the biggest games of the opening weekend with huge implications.
Yeah, both of these teams have a very good chance of making a run and trying to get into the college football playoff. So game 1 here is going to have some pretty significant effects throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, you got a Washington who, with this first game, they can really come out and make a statement on their schedule. Because the Pac-12 schedule is not, we all know that it's not as good as like
it's
the
a
SEC
weak
or something.
conference right now.
So if Washington has to win this game to even have a chance of getting in the top 4, I feel like. Auburn, on the other hand, this would be a good way to like get the season started. You know, they still have lots of people down the road: Alabama, Georgia, LSU.
Right.
So they have enough, but it'd be really good if they could get this win.
Right. Yeah. With Auburn having such a tough schedule for the rest of the year, they've got Alabama and Georgia both on the road. They play LSU and Mississippi State as part of the SEC West. They've got a really brutal schedule this year, and getting a win against Washington early would give them some space to lose some games later in the year and still have a chance at making the playoffs. But if you drop one here against Washington, you're already starting in a hole.
It's going to be a tough win.
Right.
They lost 4 of their 5 starting linemen last year.
Right.
They lost their running backs, Cameron Petway and Kerryon Johnson. But they're bringing back Jared Stidham, and I feel like this is a really important game for them. Game for him because he really needs to get it going early to show the fan base that he's the quarterback of this year and he can get things done.
Right. I think, like you said, Jared Stidham, this is going to be a big game for him. And I think he's going to have to be the leader on this offense now. Last season, he was able to depend on guys like Kerryon Johnson in the running game, help get them through the linemen. Yeah, they help make it a lot easier on him. This year, it's going to be a lot more on him, and we're going to see if he can really handle that pressure or if he's not going to be able to perform.
And he's going to be able to show if he can do it with this game because Washington's bringing back all their secondary, who was top 10 in passing defense in the Pac-12, which we all know is pass heavy. And talking about Washington, they're bringing back a lot of offensive starters. Jake Browning, their quarterback. Their running back, they're bringing him back too, and they're bringing back some of their linemen. So they're looking pretty good and poised to really get after Auburn. It's just the line physicality.
Right. Yeah, the biggest difference, I think, between these two teams is going to be we've got a Pac-12 team and we've got an SEC team, and just the level of physicality, specifically in the positions of the line, but all over the place really, is just, it's very different with Auburn and Washington.
Yeah.
I know I've seen SEC teams play against Pac-12 teams before, and early in the game, the Pac-12 teams will get ahead, but as time goes on and that physicality starts to set in, and your endurance starts getting tested, a lot of times the SEC teams will start to pull ahead later in the game as some of these other conferences start to get tired as the game goes on. So then it just becomes a matter of, can you pick up the ground you lost earlier now that you're wearing them out and trying to use that to your advantage.
With all that being said, I think I'm going to have to go with Washington in this game. They're bringing back a lot of experience. I think they'll be able to load the box up and rely on their corners to shut down the wide receivers for Auburn. So I think, and their offense is going to come out and play, I think, against that defense. So I'm taking Washington 24-18. Close game.
Okay. I like that. I could go that. This game could definitely go either way. But at the moment, I'm leaning more towards Auburn, actually.
Yeah.
I think Auburn understands the pressure in this game. Washington, they could lose this game. They could go on and win the rest of the season. And they've still got a pretty decent shot of maybe having a chance in the playoff. Auburn, this is a must-win in my opinion. This is a must-win for Auburn. I think they understand that. They're going to be motivated to play. Auburn's players, like I said, I think they're a little bit more physical. I think they're going to have the edge, and I think they're going to use that to their advantage and be able to beat Washington in the trenches and get this win. I've got Auburn 31-24.
Okay. Up next, our final game of the day, the group of 5 game of the week.
That's right.
Troy versus Boise State in Troy. It's going to be a good one. I'll start off by talking about a little bit about the Troy offense. It's not the same offense we're used to. We're losing Brandon Silvers. We're losing Jordan Shine, 2 key long-time players in our offense. And we're losing our left tackle, which is a big blow, Stephen Rousey.
Right.
And it's going to be tough, but we're at home. We got the weather on our side.
Right.
We got Neal. I think it's a good
thing.
And
as far as Troy football is concerned, this is one of the biggest games Troy has had in a long time.
Especially at home.
Yeah, exactly. We're obviously Troy students. We go to Troy, we can feel the excitement in the air just walking around campus for everybody. Everybody's hyped for this game. Everybody's excited for this game. I think they're going to have a huge crowd. I think they're going to sell out. There'll be at least 30,000 people in the stands here to cheer Troy on. Troy's not used to that all the time, but to have such a big level of support in comparison to what you usually have, it's going to be, I think it's going to be very beneficial to them. I think it's going to provide them an advantage that they don't usually have on their side. Like I said, lots of excitement going into this game, and I think Troy is going to be ready to play. I think they understand how big of a game this is, and I think they're going to be ready for it.
But of course, we know about Boise State. They're probably the leader in all Group of Five, contending every year with the big dogs in the country.
Right.
And they're returning some great players. Their quarterback, some of their defensive people, and even special teams player who killed us last year.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that being said, I think Caleb Barker, the new quarterback for Troy, he looked good in the off season. Looked good during the summer. I think we'll figure out the skill positions, the line. I think with it being at home, the weather, all that, them having to make travel, I'm taking Troy 24-7.
Okay.
A big win.
Okay.
Big start
I like
to the
it.
season.
I like it. Troy led the SmackDown.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen. I'd love to see Troy come out and get the big win. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case this Saturday. I think Troy's going to come in. They're going to be ready to play some football, and they're going to hang with the Broncos for most of the game. I think it's going to be a tightly contested game. I don't expect it to be high scoring. I think that Troy defense is going to stick their heels in the ground like last time and push back. But, however, Boise State, in my opinion, is a much more experienced team when it comes to clutch games, big important games like this. And this is a big game for both these Group of Five teams. You could argue that there's more in it for Troy than there is for Boise, which could be a motivating factor. But I think Boise is used to kind of having a target on their back in the Group of Five world. And I think they're used to going in and getting these big wins. So I think that level of experience in the program for Boise State is going to be the difference maker here. I expect Boise to get it done and get the win Saturday, 21-17. That's my predicted score for the game. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. We'd like to thank you guys for watching us today. We're trying something new here with these videos. We plan to make a video every week in which we go through the picks for the games on Saturday, the biggest games on each Saturday. And we're also considering making some videos where we go back and review the big games from the week before. We may do that in one video, or we may do it in two separate videos. Also, guys, let us know in the comments what you guys think. Let us know what your picks are for these games this week. And if you'd like to see something like a live stream, maybe where you guys could call in live, we could get our studio set up in here, get you guys calling in. We could do something like that. So just let us know your opinions in the comments. And